Imagine waking up one day and realizing you misplaced your keys, but not just once. It's been happening often. Or you forget the name of someone you've known for years, and for a split second, your mind goes completely blank. You laugh it off. You say you're stressed or distracted, but what if those little slips aren't just normal forgetfulness? What if they're the earliest whispers of something much bigger, something most people ignore until it's too late? Today, we're diving deep into the early signs of Alzheimer's that most people brush off or mistake for everyday stress, and I'll also share with you what research says you should be eating right now to protect your brain before things spiral. This isn't just another health video. This could be the one that helps you or someone you love catch Alzheimer's before it takes over. So stay with me till the end, because once you know these subtle signals and the foods that can defend your brain, you'll never look at memory slips the same way again. Let's be honest, we all forget things. You walk into a room and ask yourself, wait, why did I even come in here? That happens to me all the time. It's normal, especially when we're stressed, multitasking, or just not paying attention. But the difference between normal forgetfulness and the kind that signals Alzheimer's is in the pattern. Early Alzheimer's doesn't just make you forget. It starts to chip away at daily life in small, sneaky ways. For example, it's one thing to forget where you put your glasses. It's another thing to forget what your glasses are even if just for a moment. And that's a warning sign most people ignore. Another early red flag is struggling with words. You might notice someone trying to tell a story, but getting stuck, not just on a tricky word, but on basic everyday words. They might say, you know, the thing you use to tell time, instead of simply saying, watch. That's not just a slip of the tongue. It's the brain struggling to access language. And here's the heartbreaking part. In the beginning, the person often knows something feels off, and they cover it up with humor or excuses, so even family members don't realize how serious it might be. Mood changes are another big one. Alzheimer's doesn't just affect memory, it impacts the whole brain, including areas that control emotions. That's why someone who was once calm and patient might suddenly become irritable, anxious, or even depressed. And it's so easy to mistake this for stress, aging, or just a bad mood. But when personality shifts start happening regularly, especially alongside memory slips, that's a sign you shouldn't ignore. And let's talk about decision making. Imagine someone who's always been sharp with money suddenly forgetting to pay bills or falling for scams they'd normally see right through. Or they start dressing in ways that don't make sense, like putting on 3 layers of sweaters in the middle of summer. These aren't just quirks, they're signals that the brain's executive functions, the part that helps us plan, decide, and judge, are under attack. Here's where it gets really important. Science shows that Alzheimer's doesn't appear overnight. The brain changes start happening years, even decades, before full-blown symptoms show up. That means the little warning signs are like a gift, an opportunity to take action early. And one of the most powerful actions you can take is changing what's on your plate. Food is medicine, especially for the brain. The right nutrients can literally protect neurons, reduce inflammation, and even encourage new brain connections. But the wrong foods, high sugar, processed junk, unhealthy fats, can speed up decline. So let me share some of the best brain protective foods you should be eating right now. First up, berries, especially blueberries. They're packed with antioxidants that protect the brain from oxidative stress, which is basically rusting from the inside out. Blueberries have been shown to improve memory and delay brain aging. Think of them as tiny little shields for your neurons. Next, leafy greens like spinach, kale, and broccoli. These are rich in vitamin K, lutein, folate, and beta-carotene. Research suggests people who regularly eat greens have slower cognitive decline compared to those who don't. So if you hate salads, it's time to rethink because your brain craves those nutrients. Then we've got fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines. They're loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, particularly DHA, which makes up a huge part of brain cell membranes. Omega-3s fight inflammation and keep your brain cells communicating smoothly. If you don't eat fish, you can consider flax seeds, chia seeds, or even an algae-based supplement, another brain superfood, nuts and seeds. Walnuts are the star here because they're high in DHA, but almonds, sunflower seeds, and pumpkin seeds are fantastic too. They help with brain function and also reduce inflammation. A small handful every day can go a long way. And here's one you might not expect: turmeric. This golden spice contains curcumin, which can cross the blood-brain barrier and has powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects. Some studies suggest it might even clear amyloid plaques, which are one of the hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. If you add a little black pepper when cooking with turmeric, it boosts absorption dramatically. Let's not forget green tea. It's packed with compounds like EGCG that protect brain cells, and it also helps with focus and alertness without the jittery crash of coffee. Drinking 1 to 2 cups a day could give your brain a daily dose of protection. But here's the catch. Just adding these foods once in a while won't magically erase Alzheimer's risk. It's about consistency, building them into your lifestyle, and at the same time, cutting back on brain, damaging foods like sugary drinks, processed snacks, and trans fats. It's like this. You can't just put clean fuel in a car once and expect it to run forever. You need to keep filling it with the right stuff. Let's circle back because I don't just want you to know the signs and the foods. I want you to really think about how this could play out in your own life or the life of someone you love. Maybe you've noticed your parent repeating the same story twice in one conversation, or your partner suddenly struggling to follow a recipe they've cooked for years. Maybe you've noticed it in yourself, that growing frustration when words just don't come, or when you feel foggy even after a good night's sleep. These aren't things to brush off. They're signals, and the sooner you recognize them, the better chance you have at slowing progression. Doctors can run tests, yes, but lifestyle plays a huge role. Studies show that regular exercise, quality sleep, and mental stimulation, things like learning a new skill, doing puzzles, or even just socializing, can strengthen brain pathways and delay decline. Pair that with the foods I just mentioned, and you're stacking the odds in your favor. And listen, I know this topic can feel scary. Alzheimer's is one of the most feared diseases because it robs us of who we are, our memories, our connections, our independence. But fear can either paralyze us or push us into action. My goal in this video isn't to scare you, it's to empower you, because while we don't have a cure yet, we do have choices. We can catch the signs early. We can nourish our brains. We can stay proactive instead of reactive. Think of it like this. If you had a leak in your roof, you wouldn't wait until the whole ceiling collapsed before fixing it. You take care of it early when the damage is small and manageable. Your brain deserves the same care. Those small leaks, the forgetfulness, the mood changes, the confusion are not just normal aging. They're warnings, and ignoring them could be the difference between years of quality life and years of decline. Starting today, take notice. Pay attention to the patterns, not just the occasional slip. Share this knowledge with your family, your friends, because awareness is the first defense. And next time you're at the grocery store, remember your cart is your medicine cabinet, loaded up with brain-loving foods, because what you eat today shapes how you'll think tomorrow. And here's my challenge for you. Tonight, instead of dessert, grab a bowl of blueberries. Tomorrow, add a handful of walnuts to your breakfast. This week, try cooking salmon or sprinkling turmeric on your meals. Tiny steps, repeated daily, can create massive changes for your brain health. Alzheimer's doesn't start when someone forgets their family. It starts years earlier, in small, subtle ways most people ignore. But now that you know what to look for and what to eat to protect yourself, you have the power to fight back. Don't wait for the ceiling to collapse. Strengthen it now with awareness, with action, with food, with lifestyle. Because your brain, your memories, your life, it's worth protecting, starting today. When it comes to protecting your brain and lowering the risk of Alzheimer's, one of the biggest mistakes people make is treating health like a short-term project instead of a lifelong commitment. Think about it. How many times have you or someone you know decided to eat healthier for a week, maybe tried a new diet for a month, or exercised intensely for a few days, only to fall right back into old patterns? It's not that the effort was meaningless, but the brain doesn't respond to temporary bursts of care the same way. It responds to consistent, long-term nourishment and lifestyle choices. Your brain is built on habits, and the way you live every single day compounds, like interest in a bank account, either in your favor or against you. Imagine brushing your teeth only when you feel like it. You could brush every day for a week, and your teeth might feel great, but if you stop, plaque builds up, cavities form, and problems return. Brain health works the same way. 1 week of eating blueberries, a month of jogging, or a weekend of getting extra sleep won't undo years of poor nutrition, sedentary living, or chronic stress. Consistency is the key that locks in protection. Every day you repeat those small, healthy choices, you strengthen the wiring of your brain and reduce the chances of cognitive decline creeping in. Let's look at diet. The food you eat isn't just fuel for your muscles, it's also the raw material for your brain cells. Every neuron in your brain is built from the proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals you consume. If you flood your system with processed sugars, fried foods, and artificial additives, you're not just feeding your stomach, you're literally constructing your brain with weak, inflammatory building blocks. But if, day after day, you supply your brain with omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, your neurons are protected, your connections remain strong, and your memory stays sharp. The catch is that this protection doesn't come from eating one salad, one piece of salmon, or one handful of walnuts. It comes from eating them regularly, making them a natural part of your daily diet until they become as automatic as breathing. There's a concept scientists talk about called cumulative effect. It means that the benefits of good choices add up slowly but steadily over time. If you exercise once, your brain gets a small boost of oxygen and blood flow. If you exercise 3 times a week, every week, your brain adapts. It grows more blood vessels, improves neuroplasticity, and becomes more resilient. If you stick with it for years, you've built a shield that significantly lowers your risk of Alzheimer's. That shield can't be built overnight. It's forged through thousands of repeated choices. The same applies to sleep. One good night of sleep feels amazing, But if the next night you only get 4 hours, and the night after that you stay up until 2 a.m., you've already undone much of that benefit. Your brain clears away waste products while you sleep, including beta amyloid, the protein linked to Alzheimer's plaques. But this cleansing happens every night, not just occasionally. If you're inconsistent, sometimes sleeping well, sometimes not, the brain never gets into a rhythm. Over time, waste builds up, neurons get damaged, and memory begins to slip. That's why consistent sleep routines are just as important as consistent eating habits. Now, think about mental stimulation, learning a new language, picking up a hobby, doing puzzles. These things are often recommended to keep the brain active. But here's the truth. Doing a crossword puzzle once in a while won't protect you. The brain needs regular, repeated challenges to stay flexible. Every time you challenge your mind, you're strengthening neural pathways, creating new connections, and essentially giving your brain a workout. But like muscles, if you only work them once and then stop, they weaken. The consistency of keeping your brain engaged, curious, and learning is what keeps cognitive decline at bay. Let's bring this down to real life, because sometimes science feels abstract until you see how it applies to your daily routine. Imagine two people. One person decides to eat a healthy breakfast every morning, maybe oatmeal with berries and walnuts. They do this not for a week, not for a month, but for years. The second person eats fast food most mornings, telling themselves they'll balance it out later. 10 years down the line, the first person's brain has been bathed in antioxidants, omega-3s and vitamins every morning, while the second person's brain has been inflamed and stressed by processed fats and sugars. The difference in their cognitive health isn't just chance, it's the direct result of consistency. Or consider exercise. You don't have to run marathons to protect your brain. Even walking briskly for 30 minutes a day makes a difference, but only if you do it consistently. Miss one day, no problem. Miss weeks or months at a time, and the benefits slip away. The brain thrives on regular blood flow, regular oxygen supply, regular stimulation. It's the regularity that matters. Consistency also applies to managing stress. Chronic stress floods the brain with cortisol, which damages neurons, especially in the hippocampus, the memory center. If you only meditate once in a while or practice relaxation only when you feel overwhelmed, you're not really protecting your brain. But if you consistently practice stress management through breathing exercises, mindfulness, yoga, or even daily walks, you build resilience. Over time, your brain learns how to handle stress without releasing damaging levels of cortisol. Again, it's the repeated practice that creates protection. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine planting a tree. If you water it once a week for a month, it might survive, but if you stop watering it altogether, it will wither. But if you water it consistently, day after day, year after year, that tree grows strong roots, deep branches, and can withstand storms. Your brain is that tree. Diet, exercise, sleep, mental stimulation, stress management, these are the water and sunlight it needs. Consistency is what helps it grow strong and resistant to disease. Now, many people hear this and think, but I've already lived years eating the wrong foods or neglecting exercise. Isn't it too late? The answer is no. The beauty of the brain is its neuroplasticity, its ability to adapt and rewire itself at any age. Even if you've ignored your brain health for decades, starting consistent habits today can still slow decline, strengthen connections, and improve function. The earlier you start, the better, but it's never too late to benefit. The key is not perfection, it's persistence. This is why fad diets and short, short-term health challenges or fail in protecting long-term brain health. People get excited about a 30-day cleanse or a 2-week crash diet, and yes, they might feel better for a short time. But when the challenge ends, old habits return, and the brain loses the steady supply of nutrients it needs. Prevention doesn't come from dramatic bursts of effort. It comes from sustainable, consistent choices woven into your lifestyle. The same is true with exercise. Joining a gym and working out intensely for 2 months won't prevent Alzheimer's if you stop afterward. But walking daily for the rest of your life, even if it's just 20-30 minutes, builds a consistent rhythm of protection. Think of it as creating a long-term insurance plan for your brain. You don't pay into an insurance plan once and expect coverage forever. You keep contributing. Your lifestyle choices are the premiums you pay, and the reward is a healthier, stronger brain. Consistency also matters because the brain thrives on patterns. When you create daily habits, regular meal times, regular sleep cycles, regular exercise routines, you reduce chaos and stress in your body. The brain functions best in an environment of balance and rhythm. Disrupt that rhythm too often, and it struggles to keep up. Protect that rhythm, and it flourishes. And let's not forget that consistency isn't just about what you do. It's also about what you don't do. If you consistently avoid sugary sodas, fried fast foods, and excessive alcohol, your brain avoids the constant inflammation those foods cause. If you consistently limit screen time before bed, you allow your brain to rest and recharge without disruption. If you consistently avoid toxic habits, you're giving your brain the space to stay clear and functional. What makes consistency powerful is that it doesn't require extreme effort. You don't need to eat perfect meals every day or run marathons to protect your brain. You just need to show up day after day with small, repeatable actions. A handful of nuts here, a brisk walk there, a solid bedtime routine, a habit of reading before sleep instead of scrolling on your phone. It's these little things, repeated endlessly, that shape the brain over decades. It's important to remember that Alzheimer's doesn't develop overnight. The plaques and tangles associated with the disease build slowly, often decades before symptoms show up. That means prevention has to be a long-term commitment. If you only take care of your brain when you feel forgetful, it might already be late in the game. But if you practice consistent care, you're working ahead of time, protecting your brain before damage has a chance to set in. Another point is that consistency builds momentum. The more often you make a healthy choice, the easier it becomes to repeat it. At first, it might feel hard to replace dessert with berries or to go for a walk after work, but do it consistently and it turns into habit. Habits run on autopilot, which means you don't have to think about them anymore. That's the beauty of consistency. It transforms hard effort into effortless routine. Even social engagement requires consistency. Staying connected to friends, family, or community activities has been shown to lower the risk of Alzheimer's. But it's not enough to see people once every few months. The brain benefits from regular, consistent social interaction. Conversations, laughter, shared experiences, these things stimulate the brain and release chemicals that protect neurons. Consistent connection keeps the brain active and emotionally balanced. And let's talk about how consistency fights against one of the biggest enemies of brain health, inflammation. Chronic inflammation slowly damages brain tissue and is linked to Alzheimer's progression. The foods and habits that reduce inflammation, like eating greens, exercising, sleeping well, don't work if they're done sporadically. They work when they're done consistently, because That's what keeps inflammation down over the long haul. If you eat well for a week, but then binge on processed foods for the next 3, your brain is constantly being pulled back into an inflammatory state. Consistency is what maintains balance. The truth is, prevention isn't glamorous. It's not about dramatic transformations or miracle cures. It's about the unglamorous, ordinary, repeated choices you make every single day. The brain rewards discipline, not bursts of excitement. And when you look at people who age with sharp minds, they're not usually the ones who did one big thing once. They're the ones who consistently cared for their body and mind in small, sustainable ways. When we think about protecting our brain, a lot of people immediately jump to mental exercises, puzzles, or memory games. And while those are helpful, the truth is what you feed your body every single day is just as important, if not more important. When it comes to defending your brain against decline, food isn't just calories or something to fill you up. It's literally information for your cells. The nutrients you put on your plate are the raw materials your brain uses to function, to repair itself, and to fight off the slow damage that can eventually lead to conditions like Alzheimer's. Imagine building a house. You wouldn't use cheap, crumbling bricks if you wanted that house to last through storms and years of wear and tear. In the same way, your brain needs strong, nourishing building blocks to stay resilient, sharp, and energized. And some foods are like superheroes for the brain, standing guard against memory loss and keeping your mental clarity intact. Among the most powerful of these are berries, leafy greens, and fatty fish. Let's start with berries because they're more than just a sweet snack or a colorful topping on your breakfast. Berries, especially blueberries, strawberries, and blackberries, are packed with antioxidants and flavonoids, compounds that fight oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is a fancy way of saying your brain is under attack from unstable molecules called free radicals. Think of free radicals like sparks flying around a dry forest. They can cause damage wherever they land. Over time, too many sparks mean the forest starts to burn down. Antioxidants are like firefighters, rushing in to neutralize the sparks before they do harm. Your brain, being the energy, hungry organ it is, creates a lot of these sparks naturally, and when you add in environmental stress, poor diet, and aging, the risk grows even bigger. This is why berries are so essential. The pigments that give them their rich colors aren't just beautiful, they're protective weapons for your neurons. Studies have shown that people who eat berries regularly have better memory performance and slower cognitive decline than those who don't. One long-term study from Harvard actually found that women who consumed 2 or more servings of strawberries and blueberries each week delayed memory decline by up to 2.5 years. That's huge when you think about the impact of a simple food choice repeated week after week. Blueberries, in particular, contain anthocyanins, which have been linked to improved communication between brain cells. Imagine your neurons as people trying to talk to each other across a busy room. Over time, the noise gets louder, the signals get weaker, and communication starts to break down. Anthocyanins act like amplifiers, making sure the signals stay strong so your memory and focus don't fade. But berries don't just help with memory, they also improve blood flow to the brain. Better blood flow means more oxygen, more nutrients, and a healthier environment for your neurons. That's one reason why people often report feeling sharper and more alert after consistently eating them. And the beauty of berries is how easy they are to add into your diet. You can toss them into a smoothie, sprinkle them on oatmeal, mix them into yogurt, or just eat them by the handful. It's one of the simplest most delicious habits you can develop for brain protection. Now let's move to leafy greens, because these are often underestimated when people think about brain food. Most of the time, we're told to eat greens for digestion, weight loss, or general health, but their benefits for the brain are profound. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, collard greens, and even simple lettuce are loaded with nutrients like vitamin K, lutein, folate, and beta-carotene. These nutrients work together to protect brain cells, reduce inflammation, and slow cognitive decline. Vitamin K, for instance, plays a role in building certain fats inside brain cells that are crucial for maintaining their structure and communication. Folate helps reduce homocysteine, a compound that, in high amounts, is linked to brain shrinkage and a greater risk of Alzheimer's. Lutein and beta-carotene act as antioxidants, shielding neurons from the constant wear and tear of free radicals. It's like giving your brain a daily suit of armor just by eating a salad or sauteed greens. One famous study, the MemInD diet study, looked specifically at how certain foods affect brain health. Researchers found that people who ate at least one serving of leafy greens a day had the cognitive ability of someone 11 years younger compared to those who rarely ate them. Think about that for a second. 11 years younger just by adding greens consistently. That's not a small detail. It's the difference between struggling to remember names and effortlessly recalling details. The compounds in greens literally slow down the aging process of the brain. And the best part is how versatile they are. You can blend spinach into a smoothie and hardly taste it, toss kale into soups, make stir fries with bok choy, or simply enjoy a big salad. If raw greens aren't your thing, lightly steaming or sauté in them still preserves most of their nutrients. Some people even find creative ways like baking kale chips or mixing greens into pasta sauces, so the whole family gets the benefit without even realizing it. The point is, it doesn't matter how you eat them. What matters is that you do it consistently. Now let's dive into fatty fish, which is one of the most scientifically backed brain protective foods out there. When we talk about fatty fish, we mean salmon, mackerel, sardines, trout, herring, fish that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, especially DHA or docosahexaenoic acid. DHA is a major structural component of the brain, making up a large part of the cell membranes of neurons. Without enough DHA, your brain literally can't build or maintain strong, flexible cells. And flexible cells are essential because your brain is constantly firing, constantly adapting, constantly rewiring itself. Omega-3s also play a role in reducing inflammation, which is a key driver of Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. Inflammation in the brain is like a slow fire. It doesn't always hurt right away, but it damages tissue little by little, year after year. Omega-3s are like firefighters that calm the flames and keep the brain environment safe. Research has shown that people with higher omega-3 intake tend to have larger brain volumes as they age, which is directly linked to better memory and slower decline. And here's something fascinating. In some studies, people who ate fish at least once a week had a significantly lower risk of developing Alzheimer's compared to those who rarely ate it. The effect wasn't just small, it was dramatic. Eating fish is like giving your brain the exact type of fat it craves to stay young and functional. But what about people who don't like fish or don't eat it for personal reasons? The good news is that you can still get omega-3s from plant-based sources like chia seeds, flax seeds, and walnuts. They contain ALA, another type of omega-3, which your body can partially convert into DHA. It's not as efficient as getting it directly from fish, but it still makes a big difference. There are also algae, base supplements that provide DHA directly. And since fish get their omega-3s from algae in the first place, this is a fantastic alternative for vegetarians and vegans. Fatty fish also comes with another benefit: protein. Protein helps regulate neurotransmitters, the chemicals your brain uses to send messages. Having steady, high-quality protein in your diet keeps your brain chemistry balanced, which is crucial for focus, mood, and memory. So when you sit down to a meal of grilled salmon or sardines on whole grain toast, you're not just satisfying your hunger, you're literally feeding your brain the raw materials it needs to keep functioning at its best. Now here's where these three foods, berries, greens, and fatty fish, become even more powerful. They don't just work individually, they work together. Think of them as a team. Berries provide antioxidants that clean up oxidative stress. Greens deliver vitamins and compounds that reduce inflammation and slow brain aging. Fatty fish supplies the omega-3s that keep cell membranes strong and communication flowing. Together, they form a protective shield around your brain, addressing multiple aspects of brain health at once. It's like having a security system with cameras, alarms, and guards instead of just relying on one lock on the door. What makes this even more exciting is that these foods are all part of natural, traditional diets that have stood the test of time. For example, the Mediterranean diet, which is rich in vegetables, fish, and olive oil, has consistently been linked to lower Alzheimer's risk. The MIND diet, which combines elements of the Mediterranean and DASH diets, specifically highlights berries, greens, and fish as pillars of brain protection. People who follow these diets don't just have better brain health, they also live longer, healthier lives overall. The key, though, is making these foods part of your routine, not just something you eat once in a while. Eating a blueberry muffin once a week won't give you the benefits of a handful of fresh blueberries every morning. Having a Caesar salad once in a blue moon won't compare to incorporating greens into your meals daily. Ordering salmon at a restaurant once a month isn't the same as cooking fish at home regularly. The protection comes from frequency and consistency. The brain needs a steady stream of nutrients, just like a plant needs regular water and sunlight. The great thing is, once you start making these foods part of your lifestyle, your taste buds and cravings begin to shift. At first, maybe you have to remind yourself to grab berries as instead of cookies, or salmon instead of a burger, but over time, your brain and body start to crave the foods that make them feel good. You notice sharper focus, more energy, and better moods, and that reinforces the habit. Your body knows what's good for it, and once it gets a taste, it will guide you in the right direction.